Did you know that there is a millennia-old Jewish secret that has made ordinary men become the richest on the planet? And I'm not talking about magic or luck. I'm talking about financial skills that anyone can learn and apply regardless of their religion, current condition, or where they live. If you think this is impossible, that wealth is only for a privileged few, get ready, because today I will completely destroy this myth. And I will do so by showing how John Rockefeller, the first billionaire in the world, used ancient Jewish principles to build a fortune that, if it existed today, would be larger than Elon Musk's. Don't believe it? Then stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover could change your financial life forever. Before we begin, leave your like on this video. It helps the channel grow and spread this message of prosperity to more Brazilians like you. And look, if you want to discover all 15 secret strategies of Jewish wisdom to attract wealth, I've organized everything into a complete material called the Jewish Enrichment Code. The link is pinned in the first comment below. Check it out after you finish the video. And look, it's no coincidence that you're here now. Maybe you're tired of working hard and not seeing your money grow. Maybe you've tried everything and nothing worked. Or maybe you just want to understand how some people manage to build wealth, seemingly effortlessly, while you struggle every month and barely pay the bills. I understand you, and that's exactly why today I will reveal what the wealthiest people know and apply, but have never told you. John Rockefeller was not born wealthy, quite the opposite. He grew up in a simple family where every penny had to be accounted for. His father was a traveling salesman and spent a lot of time away from home, crossing the country in search of opportunities. Meanwhile, Rockefeller's mother managed the household with the little she had, turning every coin into survival. And it was precisely this constant need that taught him the first fundamental lesson of prosperity, a principle that has been at the core of Jewish wisdom for millennia: complete control over every cent that comes in and every cent that goes out. John's mother had the habit of recording absolutely everything. Every coin that came in, every expense that went out. Nothing was left to improvisation. There was no room for carelessness, forgetfulness, or waste, and she passed this habit on to her children firmly. Rockefeller saw in it more than a household exercise. He saw discipline, clarity, and power. The notebook where she recorded her first small earnings, from jobs like harvesting potatoes or raising rabbits, became more than just a record. It was practically a map of financial awareness, a book that showed him how money moved, how it behaved, how it grew or disappeared depending on his choices. You might think this is obvious. Everyone knows they need to control their money, but do you really control yours? Do you know exactly where every real goes? Most people don't. They earn, spend, pay bills, and reach the end of the month without understanding why there's nothing left. Rockefeller did the opposite. He knew everything. And he maintained this habit until the last day of his life. He lived 97 years and, for 97 years, rigorously recorded every financial transaction. This is not just control. This is respect for money. And this, my friend, is the first Jewish principle that Rockefeller applied perfectly. Money is not lost. Money is managed. While his colleagues were running away from numbers, spreadsheets, and reports, Rockefeller shined in front of them. He loved numbers. He saw a story in every line. In every sum, an opportunity. In every calculation, a hidden possibility. And it was precisely this perspective that caught the attention of his superiors. At 17, he secured his first job as an accounting assistant, earning $17 a month. By the second month, it was $25. The following year, he became a manager and started earning $800 a year. He was different. He mastered something very few do: real financial education. And here comes a crucial point that you need to understand deeply. Rockefeller did not go to university. His parents wanted him to go. But he chose another path. He chose commercial courses, accounting, practical knowledge. He understood something that Jewish wisdom has repeated for centuries. Financial knowledge is worth more than pompous diplomas. It's no use having a master's or doctorate if you don't know how money works, how it multiplies, how it grows, how it circulates, how it returns. Rockefeller understood this early and applied it without hesitation. And here comes the second Jewish principle that he mastered with mastery. A principle that absolutely contradicts everything you've been taught. You grew up hearing that debt is bad, that borrowing is dangerous, that you should only spend what you have. Right? Wrong. Completely wrong. Rockefeller proved that this is a myth that paralyzes those who don't understand money. When he decided to open his first business, he needed $2,000. He only had $800. He asked his father for the remaining $1,200. His father lent it, but charged interest, 10% per year. For many, this would be seen as cruelty. For Rockefeller, it was the greatest gift of his life. He learned something that would change everything. Borrowed money is not an enemy. Borrowed money is a tool. The question is not whether you should or shouldn't, it's knowing how to use it. Rockefeller took those $1,200, did the math, organized a plan, invested, and turned that amount into $500,000 in the first year. And yes, he paid his father back with interest. He continued borrowing whenever he needed to expand, even when he already had his own money. He preferred to use third-party capital and keep his own as a strategic reserve. It was pure strategy, pure intelligence, wealth in the making. But there is an essential part of this story that few know. Rockefeller had something that money can't buy, an impeccable financial reputation. He paid every debt on the exact due date, no matter the cost. In his memoirs, he recounts that once his father appeared demanding a payment at the worst possible moment. Rockefeller didn't ask for time. He didn't justify himself. He didn't complain. He just went after it and paid. This behavior built an invisible yet powerful value: absolute trust from creditors. Bankers began to accept Rockefeller's word as collateral. And that, my friend, is pure Jewish wisdom. In Jewish culture, a word is worth more than gold. And now comes the question that changes lives. What is your financial reputation? When you promise to pay, do people believe you? When you make an agreement, is it fulfilled? Or are you the type who always asks for more time, always delays, always finds an excuse not to honor commitments? Because if you want real prosperity, you need to understand that wealth begins before money. It starts with reputation. It begins with the trust you build every day. It starts with how you handle what you promise, what you undertake, what you owe. And although it may seem small, it defines entire destinies. Jews carry this as a sacred principle: a man's word is worth more than any document. And Rockefeller applied this strictly. He knew that as long as he had a solid reputation, he would always have access to opportunities. He would always have credit. He would always have doors open. And with that, he achieved something great: financial freedom even before becoming wealthy. Because freedom is not having money in the bank. It is having enough credibility for doors to open when you knock. And this strategic mindset led him to the third Jewish principle. Every financial decision has a price, and that price needs to be calculated beforehand. No impulse, no emotions in control, no guesswork guiding choices that shape the future. Rockefeller was meticulous. When he borrowed money, he knew exactly when he would pay it back. He knew how much the investment would yield. He knew the risks, the returns, the possible scenarios. He thought like a chess master, each move calculated, each advance anticipated, each consequence foreseen. And it was this way of thinking that led him to revolutionize the oil industry. While everyone was transporting oil in wooden barrels, using slow and unsafe wagons, Rockefeller saw another path. A path that required courage, calculation, and vision. He began using large iron tanks on trains. Everyone thought it was madness. They thought it was too expensive, too risky, too complicated. But Rockefeller had done the math. He knew that in the long run he would save so much and be so efficient that he would dominate the market. And that's exactly what happened. While competitors spent 3 times more to transport the same amount, Rockefeller transported quickly, cheaply, and with absolute control. But he didn't stop there. He observed that the refineries of the time kept catching fire, causing huge losses. The other businessmen thought, oil will run out soon. It's not worth improving this. Rockefeller thought the opposite. He calculated how much money was lost due to fires and decided to invest heavily in safety. It seemed risky. It seemed exaggerated. It seemed absurd to others. But he had a long-term vision. While his competitors saw their facilities turn to ashes, He's operated efficiently and safely. This was not luck. It was strategy. It was calculation. It was applied wisdom. And there was more. When he started exporting oil, he realized that there were not enough equipment at the railway stations to transfer the oil to ships. He could complain. He could wait for someone to fix it. He could accept the problem as inevitable. But he was not like that. Rockefeller invested his own money to install this equipment. At first glance, it seemed like he was wasting money, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He used these investments as bargaining chips with the railroads. He said something like, "I invested in your system. I guarantee a daily volume. In exchange, I want lower rates." And the railroads agreed immediately. Result: Rockefeller began paying 3 times less for oil transportation. And when he realized that transporting iron ore by train was too expensive, he did something that seems impossible for most. He built his own fleet of ships, from scratch. Yes, that's right. He wasn't afraid of the initial investment because he had already done the calculations. He knew with precision that this move would bring enormous returns. Do you see the pattern? Rockefeller didn't think like others. He thought like the rich think. He didn't ask, "How much does it cost?" He asked, "How much does this bring me in the long run?" And that changes everything. Now I want you to deeply reflect on your own financial decisions. How many times do you make impulsive decisions? How many times do you buy out of anger, anxiety, boredom, or emotion? How many times do you invest because you heard someone say it's a good idea? The truth is harsh. Most people do not build wealth because they make poor decisions. And these poor decisions stem from a lack of calculation, lack of preparation, lack of vision. Wealth is not about earning more. It's about making better decisions. At the beginning of his journey, Rockefeller had partners, and these partners often thought his innovations were too risky. They refused to invest. And do you know what Rockefeller did? He said, "All right, I'll invest alone, but all the profit is mine." That was enough to make the partners run back in despair. They knew that if Rockefeller was willing to risk his own money, it was because he had already done the calculations and knew it would work. He conveyed confidence not because he was bluffing, but because he was prepared. And this leads us to one of the most powerful Jewish principles: not to gamble, to invest. Gambling is to hope, investing is to know. And Rockefeller always knew. He knew because he studied, planned, calculated, and acted with precision. While many lived on the surface, he delved into the details. While many waited for perfect circumstances, he created the circumstances. And here we reach the most transformative point of all. Wealth is not about how much you earn. It's about how much you multiply. Most people spend their entire lives working for money. They wake up early, have a heavy schedule, depend on their salary, and wait for the end of the month like waiting for a difficult tide to recede. And even so, there's barely anything left. This happens because they haven't learned to make money work for them. Rockefeller learned this at the age of 12. He lent $50 to a neighbor, charging 7% interest. And he saw his money grow on its own. That day, he discovered something that would define his life. Money can work harder than any human. And when you understand that, everything changes. Rockefeller understood this early. That's why, while others exchanged time for money, he built systems that generated steady income, regardless of his presence. This is exactly what separates the rich from the poor. It's not inheritance, luck, or privilege. It's mindset, it's method, it's vision. But here, I need to be completely honest with you. If you're expecting a magic formula, an instant shortcut, or a mystical secret, you're in the wrong place. There is no financial miracle. There is discipline. There is planning. There is applied knowledge. There is consistency. Rockefeller didn't get rich overnight. He built wealth over decades. He started at 17 and only stopped when he died. It was a lifetime of work. But it was smart, strategic, and consistent work. And now I need to tell you something important. Something people avoid because it hurts to hear. Rockefeller had every excuse not to succeed. Born poor, absent father, little formal education, low starting salary. He could have played the victim, could have blamed the government, the system, life, destiny. But he didn't do that. He took full responsibility for his financial destiny. He decided to build his own story. And he did. And now I need to ask you a question that could completely change your financial life if you have the courage to answer it honestly. Are you willing to do the same? Are you willing to stop making excuses, stop blaming others, stop waiting for a miracle to happen, and take control of your own prosperity? Are you willing to learn about money, control every cent, plan before acting, invest strategically, build reputation and discipline? Are you going to keep waiting for life to change on its own, as if prosperity would suddenly appear at your door? Because I need to tell you clearly, there is no financial miracle. What exists is preparation. What exists is opportunity meeting those who are prepared. And those who are not prepared let the opportunity pass by. They don't see it. They don't recognize it. They lack the structure to take advantage of it. How many opportunities have already passed you by without you noticing? How many times have you seen someone prosper and thought, I could have done that? Yes, you could have, but you weren't ready. Rockefeller was. When the oil industry started to grow, many thought it was a passing fad. Oil will run out soon. This business is not reliable. It's too risky to invest in this. Rockefeller didn't think that way. He saw the future. He saw the potential. He saw a huge opportunity, and he acted. In 1863, he built his first refinery in Cleveland. It quickly became one of the largest in the region. 2 years later, he bought out his partners and took full control. In 1870, he founded Standard Oil, which would become the world's largest oil company, controlling 90% of the American market. And I need you to understand what it means to control 90% of an entire market. It means that out of every 10 liters of oil circulating in the United States, 9 were in Rockefeller's hands. This is not luck. This is not privilege. This is strategy applied with discipline over years. This is ancient Jewish thinking put into practice. And then came 1911. The American government accused Standard Oil of monopoly and ordered its division into 34 different companies. Many thought this would destroy Rockefeller, that it would be the end, that he would lose everything. But when a person builds wealth based on solid foundations, not even the government can stop it. In the next 10 years, the combined value of the divided companies grew 5-fold, and Rockefeller's fortune jumped to $900 million. This is because he was not just building a company, he was building an empire based on eternal principles. And empires built on principles do not collapse, they multiply. And now we come to the most practical part of this video. The part you can apply today, now, immediately. It requires no money. It requires no diploma. It requires no luck. It only requires will, the will to change. First exercise. Take a notebook, physical or digital, it doesn't matter, and record every cent that comes in and every cent that goes out over the next 30 days. Everything, absolutely everything. The coffee, the water, the change, the transfer, the money received, the money spent, everything. At the end of the month, you'll be surprised. You'll realize where your money is going. You'll see invisible leaks that were preventing you from prospering. Just that already puts you ahead of 99% of people because most live in financial darkness. They don't know where the money goes. They don't understand why there's nothing left. They don't realize that the problem isn't what they earn. It's what they don't control. Second exercise. Choose a financial decision you need to make. A purchase, an investment, a business, anything. Before making that decision, calculate. Write down how much it costs, how much it returns, when it returns, what the risk is, what the maximum loss is, and what the minimum profit is. Do this only once. Just once. You will feel the difference. You will realize that this clarity changes everything. It changes the way you think, decide, and act. It changes the way you handle money. It changes the way you build the future. Third exercise. Assess your financial reputation. Do you pay your bills on time? Honor commitments? Keep your word? If the answer is no, start changing that today. If you owe, pay. If you promised, fulfill. Even if it hurts. Even if it's difficult. Even if it's uncomfortable. Do it. Because reputation is worth more than money. And without reputation, you will never build true wealth. Fourth exercise. Invest in financial education. Read, watch, learn. Knowledge is the foundation of everything. Without knowledge, you will be a slave to money. With knowledge, you become its master. This is the difference between poverty and prosperity. Rockefeller chose to study accounting instead of attending a traditional university. He preferred practical knowledge over fancy diplomas. And that is what changed his life. And now I need to tell you something that many don't want to hear. Today it's much easier to get rich than during Rockefeller's time. He didn't have the internet, he didn't have YouTube, he didn't have free ebooks, he didn't have financial control apps, he didn't have accessible investment platforms. You have all of this in the palm of your hand. The only thing you don't have is an excuse. You can no longer say you don't know. You can't say you don't have access. It's all there. The problem is that many people want wealth, but don't want the process. They want the reward without the effort. They want the harvest without planting. Rockefeller planted for 80 years. He started at 17 as an accounting assistant and continued building wealth until he was 97. He didn't become a billionaire in months. He became a billionaire over decades. Because wealth is not the result of intensity. It is the result of consistency. But that doesn't mean you need to wait decades to see changes. It means you need to start now. Because when you apply solid principles, the first results begin to appear in weeks. You start to control your money. You start to make better decisions. You start to see invisible opportunities. You start to build reputation. You start to attract prosperity. In a few months, you will already be at another level. In a few years, you will be unrecognizable. And in a few decades, you will have built a solid, real, lasting life of prosperity that does not depend on luck, does not depend on miracles, and does not depend on anyone but yourself. Because in the end, it all boils down to one question: will you apply? I can give you all the knowledge in the world. I can show you every strategy. I can deliver the principles that built billionaires. But if you don't act, nothing changes. Knowledge without action is just illusion. It's frustration. It's weight. It's guilt. It's regret. That's why I challenge you. Start today. Grab the notebook. Do the math. Honor your word. Study finance. Apply for 30 days. Then come back here and tell what changed. Because it will change. It will change much more than you imagine. And now to conclude, I will leave you with one of Rockefeller's most powerful quotes. The most stable thing in the world is the ability to make money. He didn't say that the most stable thing is to have money. He said that it is the ability to earn money. Because money can be lost. It can be stolen. It can evaporate. It can go away. But the ability, the knowledge, discipline, reputation, principles, no one can take that away from you. That is yours. That is eternal. That is indestructible. This is true wealth. Not the money in your account, but the ability to generate that money. Invest in that. Invest in yourself. Invest in your mindset, your principles, your discipline, your financial education, because that accompanies you, that protects you, that frees you. If this video made sense to you, if you felt that this message was for you, then leave your like, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Prosperity is not for a few. Prosperity is for those willing to learn, apply, and grow. See you in the next video where I will reveal more secrets of Jewish wisdom applied to prosperity. Until then, start acting, start applying, and start building the prosperous life you deserve. A big hug, and may prosperity be with you.